Alright, good evening everyone. We're gonna call to order the May 12th, 2026 Canterbury Planning Board meeting.
Thank you. Oh, did I do? I did.
This is the counter.
Yeah, my bad side.
Why are we using them?
I don't know.
I have two bad sides, so I'm just trying to sit behind the post. Logan's got the IT on board.
Alright, so it's not letting you choose the other camera, that's interesting. But we are using the microphone. That's good. I wonder if it's not on.
Back in the day.
Thanks for sending out that information, Joshua.
Yeah.
I've forgotten what I did.
Beyond what we can fix right now.
Alright,
The shutdown.
At least it's
Oh,
going to
yes,
the room now.
of case we just.
Yeah.
so we have 6 people present. First item on the agenda is approval of the April 28th, 2026 draft meeting minutes. You receive any suggested changes?
No edits.
If there are no other suggested changes, then I'd ask for a motion to approve as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Abstain, I was not here.
Alright, so 5-0-1 minutes pass. Oops, and my pen died. I'll figure that out after. Alright. Next on the agenda is the subdivision application and lot line adjustment for map 230, lot 15, Costa Road, the A. Julian Family Trust. So the applicant and representative can come to the table if they'd like.
You guys can do this. I'll move it back.
And Webb, I think you're generally familiar with the deal, but if you could, I think there were a couple waiver requests, but just walk us like at a high level what the plan
Yes.
is and identify any application information waivers so we can handle completeness and then let you go full steam.
Actually, this is a twofold. Web Stout, I'm surveyor that did the surveying work. This is a subdivision / lot line adjustment. It started out as just a subdivision, but during the process of the survey, we found that a building was over the property line. So that's why we're doing a lot line adjustment. That would be first, and that's at the larger scale, which is this plan here. So I guess we would probably do this one first. I am asking for several waivers for this application because it is a lot line adjustment and there's more data shown on the subdivision itself. We did ask if the board would waive the fees because this is kinda in conjunction with the subdivision. The subdivision fees were paid, abutters were noticed, all that for this application. We're also asking, or I'm asking for the wetlands, topography, soils, to be waived for the lot line adjustment itself.
Sorry, can you start that piece over? Just what you just said. What were you waiving for the lot line adjustment, asking to waive?
To waive the soils,
Yeah,
the wetlands, topography, and dimension of structures and slopes, usually what's associated with the subdivision.
alright, and just as a clarifying question though, you have depicted the existing building and where the, I'll call it setback from that building would be,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, if you look on the plan, you can see the existing line goes through. Andrew put an addition on this barn. The line was close when it was way back when, before you owned it, there was a barn here. He added on to the barn, and well, when he added on, he thought he was okay. Turned out he wasn't.
What is the addition to the bottom of this wood frame barn? Is that-
Yeah, it's actually, no, the addition went this way
That way.
into the setback, Josh, yeah. So what you see is that this is all the way around, it meets the 20-foot setbacks for that property line. So this lot gets just a tiny bit bigger, and it's only 4,500 square feet that's gonna be annexed. This lot from this lot.
The setback, what now becomes a setback, is there anything unusual about that land? Is it wet or steep?
No, it's actually where the horses are, it's in the field. Yeah, I think I submitted some pictures And that would probably show, that area.
And then, I think there was a waiver on topo, which is one we're used to at this point, right? The,
Yes,
and
and the fees,
feet, yeah.
yes.
Alright. We'll pass it that way and we'll go the other direction. So starting just at application completeness, we're just focusing on that for a second.
Is this the building, the barn?
Correct, yes.
Oops,
Line.
there's one more.
The line goes right there, so
Line, yeah, the existing line, it goes, yeah, it goes around the back here.
And on the fees piece, to clarify, or see if I can find it here, you paid the minor subdivision fees.
Correct.
You paid the abutter notice fees, and it's just whether you are just paying for minor subdivision or paying for minor subdivision and a lot line.
And the lot line adjustment, yes.
Any questions from the board related to application completeness? Alright, I guess my inclination then, or I'll give you that, is I have no problem where it's where they need a subdivision and a lot line adjustment, they paid the larger fees for the minor subdivision. And it makes sense to me that whereas the lot line adjustment is only extending a boundary around that building, and the owners of both parcels are the same, correct?
Correct.
That we don't need topographic information and wetland delineation for the parcel, that's just adding a setback around the building. Okay, if there's general agreement there, I ask for a motion to accept the application as complete, granting the requested waivers.
I'll move to accept the application as complete.
Alright, is there a second? Is that Josh? Alright, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Alright. Application accepted. So now I'll give the floor back to you, Webb, to lead us through the mechanics of the lot line adjustment and the minor subdivision we have.
Sure, thank you. Again, this is, the reason there's two plans is that on the subdivision portion of this, in order to show the entire parcel, I had to go to a much smaller scale, basically 1 inch equals 100. And to try and depict that information in this one little area, be very difficult to do. So that's why it's at a much larger scale, just easier to see for everyone. This is the proposed subdivision of this property. Right now, it is, how many acres? It is, let me look it up. 37, yes, 37 acres. An existing structure on the house, this was, subdivided back, I did it, I should remember. Back in '08, this lot here was created. The Julians have since purchased the property. He wants to probably sell this portion with the house to a family member. So he basically wants to keep the 12-acre parcel over here, more or less like a buffer.
So 25 for the larger, call it
Correct.
parent parcel, and the newly created parcel would be about 12?
12.3,
12.3.
yes.
Is the frontage on Hackleboro?
The frontage for this lot
Yes.
is here. Originally, it was all here, all on Foster Road. There was a right of way over onto Hackleboro Road for access.
Ah,
Yes,
and is the frontage just from this red line to the rebar with the cap?
that's the new frontage, 300 feet for that lot.
That's 300 feet.
Yes. Leaves a remainder of 708 feet for the 12-acre lot. Again, because of the size of the lots, there's no subdivision required. Anything over 5 acres, we don't have to go to the state for subdivision approval. I did depict a 4K area, a well, the wetlands have been delineated. We are asking for a waiver to not show wetlands on the entire parcel. I have denoted or had the wetlands delineated in this area. This is approximately 4.5 acres in this area right here.
Right, and the rectangle that you put in, the area you stopped delineating is right below that.
Correct.
Yeah.
There is a note on there from the wetland
I think it's
scientist.
note 8.
Correct, that shows that this is what she delineated as far as the wetlands. There are 2 little wetlands on here, there's one right in here. And then there's another one that flows in here because there's a brook that crosses and goes across the wetlands.
Can you point on the location map roughly where the red line is?
I'll draw it on for you. Does that help?
Yes, it helps a lot, thank you.
Yeah, originally this had all its frontage on Foster Road. And it was just an access.
Before Mr. Julian bought the underground house lot, were these merged? Is that why this?
No, this was one lot. This was one 37
With
acre
two
lot.
houses on it.
One house. There's only one house. Right
Yeah,
here. This is the lot line is over here on its own lot. Gotcha. Yes, yes. Sorry, Josh, yes. Yeah. This is a standalone separate lot, and then this lot is sitting
Okay, all right,
right
yeah, I
over here.
understand, thank you.
So what is that easement, the access point for the underground house, that'll continue?
Yes, no, yep. That was created in '08.
Webb, on the lot 15-1, the blue squill, that's the tree line, right?
In here, I apologize because my plotter ran out of yellow.
Okay.
This is the tree line. So this is all field. The blue up here that you see, the cyan, that's the wetland right up here in the corner.
Yeah, I've got the bigger squiggle.
Is the
Blue.
tree line.
That's the tree line.
Yes.
The blue caught me off guard a little bit. But I will say I appreciate that your plan is a different symbol for a deciduous and a coniferous tree that has barbed wire stuck in it. I would need a lot of those if we did my property ever. Okay. Are questions from the board at the outset? And otherwise, I think we can maybe walk through the lot line adjustment criteria and the minor subdivision criteria. Anything now? Alright. Starting with lot line adjustment, it's page 29 of the regulations. See that the 2 things we really need to find that the lot line itself is not gonna create a new lot, and that there is no zoning nonconformity that's increased, so you're not creating a new nonconforming parcel or expanding anything. Here, I think that's met, and if anything, you're providing an actual required setback for the existing building, so it's almost bringing it more conforming. Alright, any issues or questions related to the lot line criteria? Alright. Subdivision, we'll do the minimum lot standards, where that is my book. Page 21. So we're in the rural zone. See, each of the proposed and the remaining lot are gonna be at least 3 acres, which is the minimum. They're gonna be at least 250 feet deep and at least 300 feet wide. And it's a little tricky with that slight diagonal, but they're getting their access from, there is still 300 feet of frontage and it's still coming in, but the access is coming from Hackleboro. So it's one sort of interesting caveat there.
It's an odd shape, but no odder than it already is. You know, we're supposed to care about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
there are definitely some odd shapes going on. Just looking at this small, there's some weird stuff going on in this corner. Not relevant here though.
And I mean, the more regular shape would be to have all the frontage go with 15-1, but then you're creating a non-conforming lot that even though it has access, it wouldn't have the required frontage. So it makes sense to me why it's set up that way.
Yeah, it's weird that there's no like reasonable way around it that is less weird.
I have no issue with we talked about the wetland delineation in the application, but just delineating the area where a new structure, leach field and well could go and not having the back of the parcel. I'm not seeing anything that would impact the proposed driveway location or the house location based on the wetland delineation. Alright, if there's nothing else anyone sort of wants to flag, I'd say at this point we can open to public comment. And then we can go through deliberating, so. At this time, if any members of the public want to speak on the application. Go with no. Is there anyone online, Cheryl, that, anyone who's listening through the Zoom, you can raise your hand if you want to speak. I think we're good. Alright. Anything final you want to say to us?
The only thing that, and I've said in the previous is, there'll be a plan that's gonna show this topo with the town, but that topo is gonna disappear on the Mylar.
Same as,
And again, the reason being is because of all this text, that can't, the lines can't run through the text, that's a no-no.
I think that's what we talked about before, is that there will be a copy with the topographic lines in the town's file, but the actual recorded one with the registry is not gonna have one, so it's more readable.
So the reason that there was a right of way is because it's steep in front of the existing house, right?
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
This-
the
that
other,
was-
if
yeah.
you're gonna go out to Foster Road, it's steep.
Right, because there's another house, there's another kind of over here, you know, with the pond, yeah.
Alright,
That's the only thing I'd add is that there wouldn't be any topo on it, but I'll have copies at the town, just like the plans you said.
So we did completeness on the lot line adjustment, did we do completeness on the subdivision?
when I was talking through those pieces, I think those were the waiver pieces he had asked for on both, so I was treating that as a single vote on acceptance and completeness. Alright, deliberation portion, is there anything that anyone wants to add in terms of the lot line adjustment criteria, the minor subdivision criteria? It seems fairly straightforward in terms of the amount of property that's being moved, the purpose, the newly created lot, its dimensions and all the standards, so it's straightforward to me. Alright, if that is the case, I would take a motion to approve the lot line adjustment and minor subdivision.
Do we have to waive it, do we vote on waivers?
The waivers were just for the information they were providing
Yeah,
us
excuse me.
on the plan, not on any actual subdivision criteria.
I'll move to approve both of them.
Second.
Alright, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Alright, motion carries, thank you both for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you. Can I get those pictures back, make sure to keep those in the town file.
You too.
And staff these.
Little pieces of
Cheryl.
computer printer.
I don't need
So if I was to keep all the ones I had,
this big plan.
there's the whole house.
The agenda in here, there it is. Alright,
And these are all copies, so.
next on the agenda is the conceptual zoning change, map 251, lot 6, Steve Cochran. Say that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, you and anyone else you have with you who wants to, can come up to the table,
Winging it alone.
all alone.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you have this, my property.
Yeah, so we had the plans were emailed to the board ahead of time, and they're on the website under the agendas, and then I have the file as well.
So there's 76 acres total, and 56 of it is under easement. But there's 17 acres that border the West Road and the railroad tracks.
Do you mind if I just look over your shoulder while you're?
Not at all, you can hold
Yeah.
one side of this for me.
You can, yep, yes. And
So this is the 17 acres. This is crooked because of a tree line. When they did the easement, they followed a tree line. And
Where's the north, south, and east and west? There we go. So that's north. And where's West Road?
I was going
right here,
to the west of the highway.
railroad
And
tracks.
where's the highway?
Yeah, actually, Josh, it might be easier to, and we
Right
can
on between
show
the
a little bit.
highway
If you
and
look on
railroad
the
tracks.
zoning map, it's pretty clear, do you mind? I apologize. So, we're right here, and so there's that little part that's cut out,
Yeah,
and so that's where it's located, this is
this
93.
is ag. That little piece in there. that
No,
little
no,
pink-
the little piece I think is marked commercial, this
Commercial.
white
This
area is
is
all
ag.
ag, the highway's coming up here
Yeah.
north on the two sides.
And where is the restriction, your?
It's sort of the southerly portion of that, the southerly 53 acres of that.
This
Yeah.
Look right, yeah, of right here. Like that triangle that I'm forming with my, between the highway and the pencil.
And that is the.
Yeah, and you'll see, I'll pass this one around, it has the highlighted area of the preservation restriction.
So the restriction is closer to the highway, not the part away from the highway?
Yes. Highway's here, that's the restriction if you're holding it in that direction, that's north is up on the table.
Okay, now I get it.
You might pass that to Janice and Calvin when you get a chance to.
No, sorry, I took it away from you. I have it on my phone.
Okay,
Really close.
alright, is everyone oriented?
So what's he wanna do?
Good, alright.
What I'd like to do is, I guess we gotta get a warrant article, have this happen.
So, sorry, back up, so there's, what's the total parcel acreage? You said
76.
76, and there's
And
a,
that's that triangle is 76 acres?
and then
Yes.
the highlighted portion on that, preservation restriction deed, that's like 50 something is
I
the,
believe that's 56.
56.
So if you were to do anything with this land, the only place you could do it is, other than the big long rectangle where your house is to the east,
West.
west of that,
Yeah,
in that weird triangle.
17 acre
Right.
area.
And then a little piece down,
there is 3 acres further down the field that's not under easement, but that's
who holds the easement?
state.
State.
It's an agricultural preservation restriction, so special kind of state easement where they basically buy the development rights and you keep the property and you keep the ability to use it for agricultural purposes. But you can't construct anything that would be non-agricultural.
Right.
Right, it's a good summary, I hope.
Does it
Yeah, yeah.
restrict us from zoning it any to particular
So-
way?
If I understand right, the request would not be to rezone the portion of the parcel that has the preservation restriction.
Right.
It would be the 17 acres that is
Is not
close to
under.
West Road that doesn't have the easement over it.
Right.
So it would be to make the parcel have, 2 types of zoning.
And would the rezoning part include the long thin rectangle where your house is, or not?
No, that's already commercial.
That's already commercial, so you wanna make this part commercial.
I can't see that far.
You wanna make that commercial, this piece.
Yes, on this side, this side.
Oh, so not, in, like,
This,
so only
this is
half
all
of it.
easement, even right up to here.
Oh, I
This is all
see.
easement. And it's just this, where it comes out like this, and
Yeah.
over, and just business.
So the easement is bigger than this yellow line? It's
Oh,
actually
yeah,
this
the
yellow
easement's
line?
all this.
Yeah, okay, alright.
I forget what year it was, but at one point it was an article that excluding what's under easement would become commercial. And that didn't pass. And I'm kinda shooting for the same thing.
Right,
This
and so one of the other images
not
that's
under easement
in the file is this, which is the
This.
existing zoning.
is, this isn't under easement.
And what does this line represent?
It's separation from the easement and
Easements and
non-easement.
So the only
And
part
the-
that's not easement is right here,
Yes, and right here,
so right there.
and technically right down here.
And you wanna rezone just this part,
Yes,
and you wanna make it from what to what?
I wanna make it ag to commercial,
Ag to commercial, and it's, what's this right now?
my house lot,
I know, but what's the zone of it?
commercial.
So the commercial would do this,
Yeah, this section here, and like I say, this is a weird line because they follow the tree lines.
and what's the distance from here to there? Yeah,
It should be on here. I don't know,
55 feet,
5.67 feet.
55,
I think that's in
0.67
between
feet.
here and,
From there to that point, and this
that
one's
one's
130,
130. So 185 feet, it looks like. And does that meet,
but I'm not looking for a subdivision though.
I'm just wondering if you wanted to put something there, you might.
You do not own this.
No, that's the, what used to be the railroad station.
Right.
And I do have a right of way through here as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Access road.
I think it was back in 29 that happened.
Okay.
And I've talked to the state, I wanted to give all this up and straighten this line out. And they don't wanna hear it. So I live with it perfectly fine, I mean, we hay it.
You hay, you hay, you
Yeah,
hay all.
yeah, we hay it all.
Yeah. I'm gonna let go of this, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
wrap you up.
And this 206 is the frontage for the east piece.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know why it didn't pass back when you tried it?
I have no idea, I weren't there, it was back when I owned it, long before I owned it. I had no idea why the town didn't hook you.
Do you happen to have the wording of the whatever, the proposal that didn't pass?
Excluding what's under easement would become commercial,
I mean, the exact.
So when I saw
pretty much that.
in the file, what they provided was the prior warrant article, but it listed lots and it did not list this lot in terms of what was gonna become commercial. And if I understand right, in looking at the zoning map, is it so opposite West Road from this parcel is industrial.
Industrial.
On the same side of West Road and on the same side of 93, it's agricultural with the exception of that little rectangle and like the kind of circles. And then on the other side of 93 is where our commercial zone is.
Right. Why wouldn't we consider making it industrial rather than commercial?
I mean, that would
I mean,
then
I-
leave these two little lots of commercial as like weird little commercial islands and industrial.
Well, it would match what's across the road from, across West Road to the, cause the north side of West Road is industrial, right?
Yes,
Yes.
but this
The
house lot and one
contiguous
other
lots
tiny
on
little.
both sides of it are commercial. Am I correct about that? I think
No.
I believe so, yeah.
Well, that's industrial. And then The pink is commercial.
The pink is commercial, right? So that's what's contiguous on both sides of the piece that he wants to
Sure,
change.
but my point is it would leave little commercial islands
Right.
in the
I'm
industrial
agreeing.
zone.
I'm agreeing.
Okay. Which seems very strange. I mean, the way it is now is also pretty strange.
Strange,
Why are those two lots commercial in the first place?
Yeah, see, it's like this agricultural zone, and then these two little commercial,
Islands,
islands. And to me, it makes more sense if we're all industrial, because, you know, if the industrial zone crossed, West Road and just, you know, arbitrary, maybe, you know, maybe at the south end of his lot, you know, we would just come across.
Mr. Cochran, can I ask why the change? Why do you want the change?
It's, I don't plan on doing anything, it's for future generations that wanted the opportunity to do something down there. It could be, I'd change the zone so somebody else could do it, my granddaughters are, my son doesn't wanna do anything, but I know my granddaughters might, who knows, they may never be anything down there. I'm creating an opportunity for future generations.
Yeah, so
So right now, it could become a residence, and if you change it to commercial, then it could not, right?
what's whatever the full table of uses for ag, so residence is definitely in play even if it's commercial. Whereas,
So what's the advantages or disadvantages over commercial and industrial?
so it changes what in the table of uses is listed, and so there are some allowed uses that, just pulling one randomly that splits that line. You could have a commercial EV charging station in the commercial or industrial zone, and you could not have it in the agricultural zone. There are more differences, there are some things that you can do in both, like forestry can be in both.
You might wanna go down the table of uses and just look at those X's in each of those things, and that would answer your question in more
Okay.
detail.
Yeah.
And then in terms of subdivision, assuming there was enough frontage, there's a different minimum acreage depending on agricultural versus commercial, and it's higher for agricultural, your minimum lot size. My concern at the outset is creating one lot with multiple zones creates headaches down the road in terms of how they are used, and particularly one that is going to have a portion of the same lot that is permanently restricted to agricultural use and opening up unknown, right, commercial, industrial use on a separate portion, whereas normally, we like seeing it's much easier to have a single lot that has a single zoning type, because zoning ordinances aren't really written for how do you handle if a lot is in two zones, and what's the minimum lot size if they wanna subdivide it, and can they use acreage from the agricultural portion in the back to lower or to like add units in the commercial section if they do that. And
Well,
so
you can't, cause it's under easement.
well, you can't, but people can come and say, look, if the total acreage is X and I only wanna put something in the commercial section, but the total parcel acreage, and I haven't personally dealt with it, I know of attorneys who have dealt with it in other towns where it becomes a fight over whether you can sort of use the density of the restricted portion to increase the density in the non-restricted portion, for lack of a better phrase. Whereas I think having an agricultural preservation restriction, it makes sense that the whole parcel is agricultural zone, and you can use, you know, any agricultural use in the remaining portion, including, agriculture does allow some commercial uses, and there's some others by special exception as well, but you're still consistent in terms of the total zoning.
I have an argument equally legalistic on the other side.
Sure, yeah.
This looks like spot zoning to me, and I don't know that I know the technical definition of spot zoning, but it's like when you, you know, kind of doing someone a favor by saying, well, your house is gonna be this other zone, even though everything else is around it is something different. And zoning's supposed to be a zone, not you get this and I get that and we're all next door neighbors and,
Right.
hodgepodge.
So,
And this, to me, looks like spot zoning and some constitutional or illegal or whatever. And that, to me, this looks like something that needs to be fixed.
well,
Yeah, I'm really curious as to how these two islands of commercial zoning ended up here in the first place.
I think if someone sued us claiming spot zoning, they'd win.
Well,
Not that anyone might want, but.
it depends on your perspective as to which one's inconsistent, but spot zoning challenges to whatever a current zoning change is typically. I read through the section, do I have the right one? Here it is. And, give me 1 second. Spot zoning describes a zoning amendment that's invalid because it's not in accordance with a comprehensive plan. It is singling out a small parcel of land for a use classification totally different from that of the surrounding area for the benefit of the owner of such property and to the detriment of other owners. And so in terms of what we're looking at as a potential amendment, there's a number of cases. It can be legally an amendment that just changes one parcel. That doesn't necessarily make it spot zoning, but it could be. But we have a section looking at the map where all the land surrounding it to the south and west is agricultural on the same quadrant of west intersecting with 93, except that there's those pieces of commercial, and then sort of diagonally across 93 you have other commercial. And then you have industrial to the north, so like, it's close to the boundary, close enough to the boundary of all of those, that I think there's an argument it could be all three. I don't think it's clearly wrong to be agricultural or industrial or commercial.
No, I think that's a matter of judgment call, but the fact that these two lots are different and just little islands, that it looks a lot like spot zoning, whether the lawsuits won or lost, that's.
Well, but that's water under the bridge, they're already like that.
Yeah, and it would be, was it the spot zoning, is that little tiny bit of commercial for the benefit of that owner?
Yeah.
Is that the person who's harmed who could challenge it, not the,
Yeah.
The other way around, which is saying all of the surrounding agricultural. So anyway, I don't think I looked at that doctrine, I certainly have always the red flag when it's one lot. I don't think it restricts us in any of the sort of three possible ways on its own. My concern is more of looking at the parcel as a whole and a single use.
So if the 17 acres were subdivided from the other part, then it would be a separate parcel. And it would not, right?
Yeah, and I think the way it's set up, if I understand it right, there's a house in the agricultural preservation restriction area in this little area, right?
Right.
So that little part, so if you're looking at the yellow, there's a house, I'm pretty sure in
Oh,
the frontage on that one side.
right here, right?
And so, I
In that one.
think there could be a subdivision, and I'd have to look at the frontage of both, to make sure it wouldn't be non-conforming. But you have a section where you could keep sort of the residential use that could use the agricultural use, that is like a possibility, and the dimensions would have to work, but
No, I don't think they do. We just looked at that, right?
It doesn't over there.
It's not 300.
It's not 300, but isn't it less for, I
But
don't know
it's
the
not
numbers.
commercial, it's,
yeah,
But if it's commercial, isn't the numbers for?
well, but you couldn't it would be really weird, I think, to change half to commercial and then to subdivide it, as opposed to saying, well, now there's two different lots and we're looking at it and there's a proposal to just change lot X.
It's certainly not the only property in town that's one piece is two different zones.
But yeah, I'm not saying it's the only one, what I'm saying is that I am opposed to creating more lots that are like that, because they are harder and less consistent, and zoning is typically, how do you use a parcel, what are the allowed uses? And when you split it, it is more difficult. This is conceptual still, so any other ideas and suggestions, I think one could be that maybe that's the basis for a variance to get, for a subdivision that has a lower frontage and that here's my unique features of the property that distinguish it, that prevent a reasonable use, is I've got this preservation restriction, I've got frontage on two sides of one other thing, and it makes sense to separate one, and maybe that's your pitch to zoning. And they can give you a waiver from the frontage requirement, which would allow a subdivision.
I would look back at the table of uses because it seems to me that there may be better future options for you with it in the ag zone than in the commercial zone. There's a wide variety of things available.
The way I see this is as a problem that ought to be fixed, because whether it meets the criteria or not, it feels to me like spot zoning, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel like zoning. And whether the whole thing ought to be agricultural or commercial or industrial is that's like a, that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, what's our vision for what that exit 18 interchange looks like in the future? And if we think that that's the, we'd love to have a 7-Eleven there, then it should be commercial. If it looks like we'd love to have a cement plant there or whatever, maybe it ought to be industrial. And it's like, what is our vision of what exit 18 ought to look like in the long run? And, we have, the new essentially residential thing there, we have a gas station there, a highway, we have industrial and, whatever that means for the long term.
You also
And
have
then this.
76 acres of protected agriculture.
Yes,
Well,
yeah.
But I appreciate Greg's point as well, is that being called the agricultural zone doesn't mean you can't make commercial uses out of it. And like commercial greenhouses are allowed as a matter of right, you could have special exception for home office or occupation. What is this? I'll go through some of them. Educational facilities, churches, accessory uses, all agricultural uses, for commercial use, including livestock, nurseries, orchards, grazing, greenhouses, livestock, poultry,
Could he put a
agricultural,
solar?
retail outlet. Or was, this is reorganized, has better, short-term lodging and restaurant are allowed with either allowed or special exception, nursing homes, open storage of lumber, outdoor commercial recreational facilities, outdoor storage of plants, aggregate, landscaping materials, restaurants. I thought solar had its own one, that's a good question, but I'm not.
So maybe
Was
the
it
whole thing ought to
veterinary
be
care?
agricultural.
My point is, it is agricultural, and I think Greg's point is there are a lot of commercial uses you can already make on the property, and that the name agricultural doesn't mean you can't.
Right, but then maybe the two outliers ought to be changed to agricultural. I feel like that's what you're, the whole thing ought to be one
Your
zone.
logic is reasonable, but nobody's asking for it.
That's true.
Well, I think the other thing too is, isn't there a House bill going through right now that's trying to essentially disallow what happened on exit 18 in terms of residential housing and commercial zoning? I don't know where that stands in the
I
House
think
right now.
that bill, the way it's written is, you can't prohibit residential uses in commercial.
I think it
As in, they want to make sure commercial zones are open for residences because there's a housing shortage. Yeah, it's the other way around.
I think they passed that multifamily is allowed by right in commercial.
It is now?
Or
I
that might be the
followed this.
bill.
But
I think that passed.
point being, I think it might also help to just look through the table, and if you have particular ideas that, I think you said your daughter, that you want her to have that option, they're still
The
there.
daughter that's gonna end up with is only 15,
Oh, okay, so she's got time.
granddaughter, I should say.
Granddaughter.
So she doesn't
He
really,
doesn't know yet.
she don't know what she's doing.
I think she has though.
So, those are most of my thoughts. The other ones I just wanna plant as a seed is there's two ways to get a zoning amendment, and one is the planning board itself proposes an amendment. And the other is you can get 25 signatures, and it's called a petitioned zoning amendment, and so you can always propose this, it will cause it to, you have to give it to the select board between like 120 and 90 days before the town meeting. They'll send it here, we'll have a public hearing on it, and then it'll go on the warrant article. So even if you would like to go forward and put it to a vote of the town, you can always do that if you follow that process, regardless of any of our thoughts.
The last one was proposed by the selectmen.
I think there were some other minutes in the materials you provided which were very helpful. It sounds like they had a commercial advisory committee when they're figuring out, it's called the Canterbury Planning Board Advisory Committee on Commercial Use Zoning. And then the committee said what was it, recommendations, and went forward its recommendations to the planning board. So if you're curious about who was on that in 1993,
No, this is yours.
well, this is the
If
application.
you're curious about.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
But, and so, I guess where I wanna leave it, right, I agree, you're at this weird intersection where you have a lot of different types of uses. It is a little unusual to have that U surrounding another parcel that's a different zone. But you've also got agricultural to the south and west, and you've got that restriction, which sort of complicates it, at least as I see it.
Alright, I'll go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
So I just have a question, I'm curious, is your ask, are you looking to have the planning board initiate a warrant article on this, or are you considering what Brendan said and doing it?
That's what I was considering, yeah, that the planning board
Okay.
work with me.
I think something that Joshua noted that can remind, like our bar standard for, I'm probably using legal language I shouldn't use. What we're looking to is what is in line with the master plan and for the broader benefit and planning of the town, not so much the individual case by case basis for something that we bring to the town.
Well, at the meeting for exit 17 back, when they had it in the town hall, it was my assumption that they were looking for more commercial, industrial, whatever property, especially at exit 18. Am I correct, or?
Yeah, I think those are the areas that currently have the zoning, they make sense.
Right.
And I could really see it belonging to all three of those zones personally, but for the preservation restriction that's in the same lot, that's the back, and that's where I get sort of hung up, but I don't see any strong reason it couldn't be, like, just ignoring that, if you take out the preservation restriction, I don't see a strong reason based on how our zones are set up that it couldn't be industrial like it is across the street and west, or commercial like it is across the highway on the other side, or agricultural like it is, further to the south and west. All three of those could make sense, cause you are at that intersection of zones.
Yeah.
Okay, before we close it, I think we're just gonna open up the public comment if anyone else wants to comment on
Sure.
the preconceptual. I don't know if either of you here wanna comment?
I have a question,
Yeah.
what type of soil is it in terms of quality of agriculture on those sites?
It's great because there's not a rock in that field.
Yeah.
But it's sand, so if it doesn't rain, you don't get grass.
Right.
It's sand I've had a well put in and they went 120 feet to ledge. Sand all the way down.
Wow.
And then they went 800 feet and got 3 gallons a minute. So it wasn't I got water.
Expensive water.
And I think that's part of the overlay district too in that area, the worry that it's all sand, right, that.
It's sort of ironic considering how close the river is.
Amy,
I have another one,
yeah, you
just
go
to
first and
say-
then I'll call to I just wanna make sure I don't forget about the online people just in case, but you go first, yeah.
I just feel like agricultural land is getting eaten up. And I just want any parcel of land to be considered as agricultural first and then as development, just as an attitude.
Well, when I bought the land, people asked me if I was gonna put houses out there. I can't, but that's not why I bought it. I've had great grandparents and great aunts and uncles that had farms, and now they're all houses.
Yeah.
And it's just horrible,
It's scary.
it's horrible. But this one area is the worst part of it to hay. And we don't hay it, just because, for that reason. But the rest of the field is, cause I know it's under easement, but if it wasn't, would not, as long as I'm alive,
Yeah.
would not get developed.
Alright, well, and then anyone online, I think I see Beth and initials JS, anyone want to comment on the preconceptual before we close it?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I have no comment at this time other than to say thank you for this really thoughtful discussion about how to deal with this important piece of property. And that's all. Thank you.
Alright, thank you. Alright, and with that, the conceptual is closed, but you
Okay.
know, be in touch if you go through it, you wanna come back and discuss it again, we're always here.
Yeah, hopefully figure something out.
Alright, thank
Thanks for
you.
your time.
Okay. This is yours.
Thank you both for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
Greg's photos.
I lose my, just throwing my.
Just like overall, I feel like, why
It's Greg's, thank you.
is this our problem? Like, if he really wants to change
Okay,
it,
that's why.
go get your signatures and
Alright.
put it on the
Oh,
thing.
we're good.
It's closed.
So, yeah, we'll move on, so,
Last name is
any
Space and.
issues anyone wants to discuss under old business, and I will continue to apologize, I hope I get to it, I have not pulled together anything on the cluster subdivision.
And I didn't do my job on cul-de-sacs, but I promised to do it.
I appreciate that I'm now in solidarity with someone else who has maybe common language. Any other old or new or other business anyone wants to raise, otherwise I'll give you all back like an hour 10, which would be nice.
Yeah.
Alright, is there a motion to
Motion
adjourn?
to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Whose is this?
Yours now.
That is, if I can do that, please.